Hey folks, today I've got 7 accessories for the DJI Mini 3 that are under 25 bucks that are actually worthwhile buying, or at least certainly considering. And then on top of that, I've got 3 accessory-like categories that you're probably just gonna wanna skip. Now, quick things that are crucial for sponsoring this video, a bit more about them later on. Okay, so first up on the list is simply to charge this darn thing faster. And there's a couple of options there, but essentially the Mini 3 batteries top out at 30-watt charging. That's the fastest you're gonna charge, versus something like the Mavic 3 tops out at 60-watt chargers. There are plenty of chargers out there, but the core thing is if you just got like a random USB charger floating around your house, it's probably taking you a lot longer to charge this thing than it should. So these ones here are all 60-watt chargers. You can see various sizes, and you can get them from around 20 bucks. This DJI one here is more expensive at like 80 bucks, and it's handy because it's got an extra cable on it and stuff like that. But honestly, like these ones here and other ones I have floating around my house are all about 20 bucks and they work just fine. The cool thing about the USB power spec is that it'll pull what it needs. So you can't like overpower it. If you have a laptop charger with USB-C that's 90 watts or 100 watts or whatever the case may be, you can use that just fine. This will only draw 30 watts. Sorry, a quick note from future me because I totally forgot this part. I put links to all this stuff in the description down below there so you get the exact same one I'm talking about. Also, if you are finding this video interesting or useful, just hit the like button. It really does help with this video and the channel quite a bit. Back to whatever the heck I was talking about. Now, the next item on my list is something near and dear to my heart. If you've seen my Active Track videos, you know that I like to take this and fly along behind me on my bicycle. The problem is that the DJI remote here does not have any way to mount it onto a bicycle. There used to be a remote control adapter for the existing DJI N1 remote, which is still compatible with this here, but there was not one for the DJI RC. But now there is. So this comes with 2 parts, and this is what makes it kind of cool because you can use it for other uses. So there's this, actually 3 parts if you can do it screw. There's the bottom part here, this mounts onto your handlebars, and then there's a part that mounts onto the back controller that you see right there, but this is a standard GoPro adapter. Really useful. And then there's this giant ass GoPro screw they included with it. Not so useful. You can't put a screwdriver in there, so you can't really crank it down nice and tight. So just grab one of the spare GoPro screws you have, because that'll be just a lot better. Now in my case, I use this both with this piece right here, as well as just with a cheap like $10 mount for my bike that's aluminum that's on there. I find that a little more sturdy. So that's what you see right here in this shot where I'm cruising along on this not super smooth road. It's actually got a fair bit of vibrations. It's a farm road and it's been kind of mucked up a bit, but it's working out just fine. I went back and forth Active Track regular mode and then profile on the side mode. I mean, Active Track works pretty solidly on the Mini 3 as long as you don't hit a tree or anything. I would say I would trust this on roads and roads up to this kind of bumpiness. I would not trust this particular mount on mountain biking like I would have in the past with the regular N1 remote. And the reason is that on this area right here, you get a little bit of flex, a little more flex than I would prefer if I was like mountain biking. So I'd really recommend using some sort of lanyard attachment from the remote control to your handlebars. The same is true on a motorcycle, anything like that, just in case something goes wrong. At least at worst, it just dangles off the side as opposed to like being squished under your wheel or whatnot. And the easiest way to do that is this lanyard attachment right here. Now this lanyard attachment normally is something you put around your neck. You snap these 2 pieces in like that right there, and then as you're flying along, you can duck it to use it at the last second, and the remote control won't drop to the ground. But this also gives you these 2 nifty little screws, which are useful because you can use these for any sort of other lanyard that might be a little more practical for a bike or motorcycle or any other sort of moving vehicle, ATV, etc. Now, next up is someone that spends a lot of time outdoors. I guess you always spend most time outdoors, but I spend a lot of time in the outdoors, I guess you could say, is this screen right here. Basically, this helps to make it a little bit easier to see the DJI RC. This screen has up to 700 nits of brightness on it. I mean, nits are basically how bright the screen is, and it's useful mainly in bright sunlight conditions, compared to something like the DJI RC has 1,000 nits of brightness. In the vast majority of cases, you can see this just fine. However, where it is tougher is on the beach, places where the sun is directly over the top of you, makes it very difficult to see the screen. And this is where it works well because it basically protects the top of the screen so you can kind of like peer down into the side of it. Again, you don't need this in every scenario, but having this like handy when you go on those vacation trips to warm sunny destinations with direct overhead sun is pretty useful. Now, next up, a couple of weeks ago, I was hiking 170 kilometers over 8 days, so that's 105 miles, with the Mini 3 in my backpack. And I use the Mini 3, of course, because it's super lightweight, and I wanted something very, very easy to pack and all this and that. The problem is that when you pack this up, the props like flap all over the place, and they end up just going in bad spots. So in this case, what I've got is this little cheap prop guard. Now, it is cheap. It's really, really cheap. And it's not exactly like the best material on earth, but it does the trick perfectly. So you basically just simply snap all the stuff in place. Then you take this like this, put it around the sides, and presto, it just keeps it like small like that. Obviously you have the little cover on the front there, but I didn't want that here because that wouldn't look so pretty, but you get the point. This worked great. Every day in my backpack, just like this, with the prop cover, all was well. Now, some of you would say you could use a little like 50-cent or 10-cent band like this. This is for my daughter, and you can do more or less the same thing here. But I found that this kind of slides around a bit versus this just stays put. The same is true of like an industrial rubber band. This is just a better job of staying there on these slick little props. Now, speaking of that bag and bag situation, in my case, for the hike, I had a big backpack, so I didn't really need another bag. But when it's not in that, it's in this, oh, it just got stuck, bag right here. This is the DJI Mini 2 bag, and it costs between 20 and 23 bucks, depending on where you buy it. And what's cool is I can stick this in here, I can stick the remote in here without this little clamp, of course, so I can still do that. I can stick the battery charging case in here with 3 batteries in it. Like, everything fits in here that I need to fit, plus some extra props in there. Like, it all fits beautifully in this case. Some people spend a lot of money in cases, and there are some beautiful cases out there. I am mostly a cheap dude. And the thing is, this drone is super durable. You don't need like a crazy hard case. Half the time, I just put it in this as well. Like, this is a simple cloth bag. I think I like got it at a hotel or something, like you put shoes in it. I don't really know. I just throw all the stuff in there again with the protector on the front, throw the remote in there, an extra battery, just pick it up and call it done. Like, it's more durable than you think. I've been using this now for, I think, 5 months and beating the crap out of it, and it's still perfectly fine. Finally, on the list of things you should actually buy are extra props. Definitely, you should always have extra props in your bag. Also, don't forget the stupid little screwdriver. So if you're going out in the day and you have extra props in your bag, do not forget to put the screwdriver in your bag. Again, without this tiny little screwdriver, you cannot do anything with these props. Take this whole thing, bundle up with that hair tie that you stole as well. Put it in your bag like this so you know all that stuff is there. Now, once you've got all this crazy footage, you probably need 2 things. 1, a whole crap ton of storage space, and 2, more memory to help your video editing apps edit things faster. And that brings us to the sponsor of today's video, Micron, and their free Crucial System Scanner. This nifty tool scans your computer, figuring out the exact memory and storage parts in minutes. Here's the actual scan from my laptop. This is my real laptop, by the way. It's not a prop. This is what I use every single day. And so this is the actual scan from my laptop showing precisely what I can upgrade. It gave me a list of the options of both memory and storage, including the sizing and prices. And these prices are usually a fraction of what you pay compared to pre-buying your computer with all the storage and memory built in. Just way better deal to do it after the fact. And installation usually only takes a couple minutes. It's super quick to do. Ultimately, if your system is starting to fill up or slow down a little bit, you can extend the life of that computer and spend that money on something else, like drone things, by using the Crucial System Scanner. Click the link in the description to try the Crucial Scanner, and then you can use my code Rainmaker15 to save 15% on all Crucial memory products. Now we're going to dive into 3 quick categories that I think are probably worthwhile skipping. The first one is landing pads. These are things that look like little miniature blankets. You throw them on the ground, it's something you target to try to land on. And these are fine, except most cases where you want to use these, they aren't super compatible. Either it's too windy, they're going to start blowing away, which isn't super useful. 2, the ground is too rough, that these are basically going to make a mess of things anyways. And 3, I think it's really important just to learn how to fly the drone and even to hand catch it when you need to. Understanding how to hand catch is super important, and it's so easy. All you do, and here's the thing to keep in mind, is to fly the drone down away from you. So like 6 feet away or 2 meters away, fly down to shoulder level. So basically just when you see it roughly at your shoulder levels, fly to that point and then stop. And then simply reach underneath it like this and then go ahead and grab it and flip it over. The flipping it over will automatically stop the motors. If you try to fly it down to your hand, it won't work. It'll fly away because it sees your hand is moving and it thinks it needs to get away from that. So again, fly down in front of you, then reach in for the kill or the take or whatever the case is. Anyways, the second category of things that kind of falls in that same group is landing gear. Essentially, if you need landing gear, you should probably just be hand catching it. Also, landing gear usually pops you over the 250 gram limit. And especially like if you're talking like water landing gear and stuff like that, then I would just argue you're probably doing it wrong. That means something has gone horrifically wrong in your entire flight planning. And in most cases, if you have any sort of waves anyways, then it's probably going to tip over and whatnot. So just to avoid any scenario that puts you even close to having to land on the water. And this comes from someone that does all of my crazy high-speed wind tests over the water. Planning is your friend. The last category, and I know this will probably upset some people, especially in YouTube world where like the ND filter money is hopping, is ND filters. Everyone loves to talk about ND filters, though honestly, I promise you, every YouTuber dies a little bit inside when they get an email from the ND filter company asking to review filters. Look, ND filters are great in the right hands, and they're super useful if you know how to use them, and if you know how to use the right filter for the right day with the right setting. Unless you know all those three things at once and spend the time to figure that out in a lot of different conditions, it's more than likely you're gonna make your footage worse. So if you're just getting into this sport or hobby or whatever you wanna call it, just skip the ND filters from now. Focus on all the other things first. Focus on shooting great shots first. Focus on learning those moves. Focus on not flying this into a tree. Once you've mastered all of those things, then come back and spend too much money on ND filters from the YouTuber of your choice and give them the credit that they want. Make sense? Good. All the links to all the things I've talked about are in the linkage description thing down below there, so you can find those quickly and easily. With that, have a good one, and stay tuned for plenty more sports tech stuff. This is going to be a strong week. I think the next month is incredibly strong. You're going to enjoy it all. Have a good one.